Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody, to the MASH unit known as the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. We are the Working Class Podcast, and we are a walking, talking MASH unit over here at the Armchair headquarters. I am on the mend. I apologize for missing my first show ever. John, how are you feeling?
Good. I'm here. Not great, but I'm here.
Apparently, I might have given John my illness. We're not sure if it's mono quite yet. We're not sure. I haven't been hanging out with Sam Darnold as of late, but I'm glad to be back, although still a little congested, but my head does not feel like it's about to explode anymore. I am not in bed. I'm good to go. Welcome back to the Working Class Podcast, the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. The blue collar ballers are here at 70 to 80%, but we are here. As usual, you can check us out on our Facebook page at Armchair Fantasy Football, on Twitter at Armchair FF Pod. I'm on Twitter at Armchair Kingpin. I'm DJ, by the way. And John is on Twitter at John2977 with a brand new thumbnail image of this handsome devil to my right. Email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. Please email us start and sit questions to that email address. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podbean, and you can find our lovely videos on YouTube. Just search Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. You'll find us in all of our glory. And John, even though we're looking like a MASH unit, we are still preparing for week 3 upcoming, and we're going to talk about some start-sit stuff. We'll go matchup by matchup and who we're starting and who we're sitting in those matchups. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
We're going to do some...
we can do some news first.
First, okay. So in news, Coach Matt LaFleur wants even touches between Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams.
Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, even touches. That sounds good to me because Jamal Williams is on our fantasy team, on our 16-team tag team league. And I'm surprised by this, though, and I don't know if I completely buy it because Aaron Jones looked good. He looked really good.
He did look really good, and
he's better. He's a better player.
The other part I'm not buying is he did this last year, and then by the time he figured out who the better running back was, obviously Derrick Henry got the nods, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. There was definitely the intention last year in Tennessee when LaFleur was there to, I almost want to say they wanted Lewis to be the lead guy. So first it was Henry, then it was Lewis, and then it was Henry again. But yeah, I don't know. Cream rises to the top on this one. It's cool to have Jamal Williams on our squad in a very deep league, and hopefully he can generate some fantasy value. But I just think Aaron Jones is better, so he'd be the back to own as far as I'm concerned. But definitely, if he's on your waiver wire, Jamal Williams, that news is worthy of going after him. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, Jamal Williams, at any point Aaron Jones goes down, he will be the obvious choice to lead that backfield. So he's a great handcuff to have if you're an Aaron Jones owner. And if not, even have him as a handcuff, even if you're not an Aaron Jones owner.
Yeah, definitely. What else you got?
David Njoku in Monday night's game broke his wrist. May require surgery. He's still getting it diagnosed to see if it requires surgery. But he is going to be out anywhere from, my guess is 2 weeks up to longer, depending on surgery. But Demetrius Harris will get the start at tight end for now.
Yeah, Harris is definitely somebody to look at on the waiver wire, especially at that position where it's pretty slim pickings as it is. I think it's a little, I don't know. That offense I still haven't figured out yet. I think Odell is obviously a must start. We'll get into starts and sits. But even you look at Jarvis Landry last week, kind of disappointed a little bit. Not a guy that's on my fantasy radar yet. But if you're in a deeper league or you're in a really bad spot at tight end.
I feel like tight ends and quarterbacks this year have been the two positions wiped out the most by injury.
But I think, and I could be wrong, guys. Remember this: we don't spend 40 hours a week doing research like some folks are afforded to do. We spend 40 plus hours a week doing other things. But if I'm not mistaken, Demetrius Harris was in Kansas City prior to Cleveland, and there was a lot of talk that if Kelsey were to go down, Harris would have been almost as valuable from a fantasy standpoint because of his skills.
Yeah, he's actually a very athletic tight end. He runs like a 4.5 40.
So
he's
could
got
be.
Speed.
I mean, this guy. Yeah, if you're hurting at tight end, I know, like John, for example, prior to going after Mark Andrews, had Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry went down. So if you're a Hunter Henry owner, this might be a guy worth taking a flyer on for sure. How long is Njoku out?
It hasn't given a timetable yet. Like they said, he broke his wrist, but he's getting it looked at based on a specialist if he requires surgery or does not require surgery. That's why they don't have a timetable yet on him.
Yeah,
I actually like this news because I'm a Jarvis Landry owner.
Well, that too. I think. Yeah, Landry. Man, I love Landry as a player. He's one of my favorite players, just in terms of. He's a lunch pail guy that just goes and does his thing, and normally is a target, good for 6 to 10 targets a game. So hopefully this helps his production a little bit more. But like we've said before, Baker seems like the type of guy that he just throws to the open man, whoever it is. He doesn't care what the back of the jersey says.
Nope.
And I think Landry will definitely benefit from this as well. It's a good point.
Other news: Josh Jacobs is not only dealing with groin injury, but he's also sick. He's lost about 10 pounds. And then Gruden has stated today that it's not just his groin injury he's dealing with, it's also his hip bothering him. So this is a compound of
illness,
for Jacobs.
hip, groin, Minnesota. I would sit him this week, and we'll get into that. But he's a sit for me for sure. If he plays. They have DeAndre Washington. They have Jalen Richard. By the way, if you have Jacobs, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if you have a deep enough bench to roster one of those guys. I think it's DeAndre Washington, but in PPR it's probably Jalen Richard. And I think they should sit him this week. That's my opinion. They have two guys that can supplant. They already had those guys. Their usage was up last week with Jacobs out there. So if I was Oakland, I would almost sit him this week, but not a good sign. We worried about his durability coming out of college because he didn't have a huge workload. So it is a little bit concerning. I own Josh Jacobs, and I went and got DeAndre Washington this week.
I think they should rest him, like DJ said, based on the fact that injuries like this, once a hip and then a groin, those can actually lead to worse injuries if they're not taken care of immediately. I think they just give him a week's rest and roll the RVPC committee. Out of the backfield this week.
So the running back by committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Run it out this week as I don't think you risk future injury for Jacobs. I think he's their future, and you don't want to pound him into the ground and lose him for the rest of the season. So.
Yeah, why aggravate stuff that might is already an issue, and I know they're 1-1, so they're chasing wins at this point, but live to fight another day, I think.
So in Buffalo, Devin Singletary did not practice today. And if he doesn't practice tomorrow, it's looking like more than likely that it's going to be a Frank Gore, TJ Yeldon backfield this week.
In which case, you're definitely starting Frank Gore. I don't want to spoil the start sits, but Cincinnati cannot stop the run at all. So Josh Allen should feast too, with that being said, but anyway.
Another quarterback down. Cam Newton, if you haven't heard, is still in a walking boot. It is the same foot that he injured in preseason week 2, I believe.
Yep.
It's looking more than likely, and I would say probably a 95% chance that Kyle Allen will start at QB this week for the Panthers.
Which was, I guess, kind of weird to me because I always assumed it would be Will Grier, but I guess not. As far as Cam's concerned, this is the smartest thing the team can do is sit him this week. Again, I'll go back to, we discussed it on Tuesday, Ron Rivera was almost angry that there was a suggestion that Cam was hurt, and then lo and behold, yeah, he's hurt. And you can tell. What did I say? You can tell. I can tell a bold difference between a healthy Cam Newton and a hurt Cam Newton. I've seen Cam Newton, get out of here, fly. I've seen Cam Newton have bad games when he's healthy because he can be kind of erratic with his throws and stuff like that. But you could just tell. He doesn't run. You know what I mean? There's just a big difference.
Well, what did he have? Like 2 carries that game, 2 or something like that? Very limited.
Yeah, so I think this will do Cam some good, but a little unnerving that he's that hurt this early in the season. But anyway.
In Kansas City, Damian Williams does not practice today, and McCoy was expected to practice, but I have not gotten confirmation if he did or not. So that backfield is still murky.
By the time you hear this, you will.
Darwin Thompson is a back to own this week if you haven't picked him up from the waiver wire.
The other Williams, by the way.
Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams?
Yeah.
That's right. Darrell Williams.
He's sneaky. That one's sneaky, let me tell you. I know the assumption is Darwin Thompson would be the guy to benefit, and I don't know that that's necessarily wrong. But they like Williams, too. So
Williams was involved last year because you kept getting mixed up with Damian Williams. Who scored that? You always saw was Williams on the thing, and then you look and you're like, nope, it's not the same one.
And you was trying to trade Darrell last year for just to make somebody think it was Damian, maybe. They just see the D. Williams, who knows. So whoever they name the starter is a must start on that offense.
In Indy, Marlon Mack misses another practice, so I believe this is 3 days in a row. Jordan Wilkins will likely take over the backfield if Mack is to miss this week, and Naheem Hines would take over on passing duties.
Just to go back real quick, and I'll tie this in with Marlon Mack, just to go back to Damian Williams, same with Marlon Mack, this was the concern. The concern with these guys is that they can stay healthy and handle a full workload, and already we're seeing these guys are dinged up. So Marlon Mack, I mean, you probably should have handcuffed him already, if you own him. But I'm a big advocate for the handcuffs, and this is why, though. I mean, these guys can be out this early in the season. In week 3, you're expecting to start the guys you drafted early, and Mack would fall into that category in most cases. So I'm telling you guys, and we have a deep bench in our keeper league, but I have Zeke Elliott, I have Tony Pollard, I have Josh Jacobs, I have DeAndre Washington, I have Lenny Fournette, I have Raquel Armstead, and those my top 3 backs. I've handcuffed every single one of them, and it's an insurance policy, right?
Yeah, I mean, next guy up. So speaking of next guy up, Sterling Shepard has been cleared from the concussion protocol, but what worries me about this is, what is his bond with Mr. New starting quarterback Daniel Jones, though?
I think this is good for Jones, and I actually just picked up Jones. I have Josh Allen as well, and I picked up Jones because their schedule is pretty favorable for the position.
He looked really good in the preseason, really good.
He was surprising a lot of people, and this goes way back to John and I's first show when we kind of said, this looks bad. It looks like a bad draft pick, but do we really know? I mean, you just never know with some guys, and I think with the schedule that he has, I think Jones could be good, and this is good for Jones. You want your best players out there at this time until Tate comes back. Shepard is their best receiver, so this is good news for him.
In Philly, not so good in news. Alshon Jeffrey with his calf and Deshaun Jackson groin are likely to be out till week 5. Even though Peterson said a few days ago they are day to day, but the new report says they may be out till week 5.
If you own Zach Ertz, man, this guy had 16 targets last week, so that's huge. John didn't silence his phone.
Caden, stop. Caden.
Well, that's not good. You're gonna have to find. And that's not obvious. That's obviously not going to change this week. It might even go up. And then of course Nelson Aguilar. I saw a lot of fab money spent on that young man this week. And yeah, if you need a starter this week or the next week, he's going to get a ton of targets, and he's probably going to have some big games. I think, John, there's going to be a sleeper in there somewhere. I don't know whether maybe it's Dallas Goedert if he's playing. I know he was hurt. A lot of injuries on Philly. That's the moral of the story, I guess. But we'll talk about start and sit later on. But yeah, those Eagles are getting banged up. And of course, let's not forget Wentz was out of the game for a little bit too.
Yep, he took a shot to his ribs. Other news, Miami's Albert Wilson is doubtful with a calf injury against the Cowboys. Devontae Parker and Preston Williams will be the featured wide receivers against them boys.
Preston Williams, man, I just picked him up. And this guy's got a lot of skills. This guy is an alpha-level talent. His only problem is he plays for the Dolphins. But if you have not picked him up off the waiver wire, please do so for your own sake, because I think Preston Williams could be a star. I really do. And I know that sounds like a bold statement, but... and of course, Rosen is playing, right?
Yes, and he favors Preston Williams. But we'll go in... Well, I might as well go into it now.
Yeah, I might as well segue into that.
Fitzmagic has been benched. Josh Rosen will start against the Cowboys this Sunday. What do they have to lose? I mean, they've already been awful.
I mean,
so
they need to... I mean, if Rosen is going to be their guy, they need to figure that out. And I think you would agree too, John. What they're doing is they want to see if Rosen's any good, because they're going to get the first overall pick next year, and they need to determine whether or not they need to spend that on a quarterback. But they got a lot of needs on that team.
They got a lot of draft picks too, actually.
They do. Yeah.
So they're stacking up. So the last bit of news we have is Tyreek Hill has shedded his sling, his arm sling. A week 4 return is possible, but considered a long shot. But shedding the sling is a good sign of progress.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a DeMarcus Robinson owner or
that's the thing.
Nicole Hardman, I mean, I wouldn't read into this too much.
I saw some huge fab money spent on Robinson, and I'm just like, he's a rental. Maybe he's even a rental. You don't even know if he's that. But we'll see. We'll see. But good news for Tyreek Hill owners that he's not going to be out too much longer. What's the projected return?
Week 4 the earliest, but it's a long shot, they said. So my guess
I would say
week
week
5.
6. Or
week 6
yeah,
sounds
probably
about
week
right.
6 is safe. So if you just picked up Robinson and he does that every week for the next 3 weeks, great. But I just don't know if he's going to do that. We'll see. Wait and see, as they say. Is that it for news?
That's it.
All right, let's dive right into the start sits for each game. We're going to start with, obviously, by the time you listen to this, the Jaguars will have played the Titans, so we're not going to get into that. That would be like a tree falling in the woods, so to speak, when nobody's there to hear it. It doesn't make a sound. Hopefully they make a sound, because I got to start learning Fournette tonight. So anyway, I digress. I'm ready. So Cincinnati and Buffalo is how we're going to kick it off. John Ross and Tyler Boyd, John, have been heavily targeted, and both are around 25%. I definitely think you're starting these guys, but I'm a little nervous for Ross because he does have a tough matchup with White. I think Tyler Boyd could be the safer of the two. Other than that, just based on the targets those guys are getting, I'm not interested in any other pass catchers. So I would start Boyd for sure. I think you can start Ross, but just temper your expectations there, John. And then, of course, Mixon. He hasn't been great, but I feel like you have to start him if he's healthy, but I would almost stay away from him if you have better options. I think he's a sit this week, John. What do you think?
I don't think I mean, I'm like mixed about that.
So let me ask you this. Frank Gore or Joe Mixon? I'd go Frank Gore.
Against this defense, yes.
So if you can find a sweet matchup like that, I would sit Mixon. I really would. And I know that's not a popular thought process.
No, I know, but I know the Bengals are last in the NFL with 29 rushing yards per contest. That is awful, but Mixon was not healthy week 1.
Yep.
Last week, we say San Francisco's bad, but they have improved tremendously on offense and defense. If Mixon can't get it done on the ground this week against the Bills are not good as a rushing defense. They're good as a passing defense.
True.
So I think if this is the week that Mixon goes off, it would be this week. But at the same time, Dalton's got a somewhat, and I'm not saying he even has to have close to the games he had the last 2 weeks. If he has a somewhat decent game against this secondary, it would help Mixon. But I think Mixon has to get something going this week, or you're going to be concerned as a Mixon owner. And I don't see him failing 3 weeks in a row. I'm not even count week 1 against him. He wasn't healthy. This is the week I think he can actually put up a decent stat line. I think you start him.
On a funny, okay. I guess I'm not gonna say sit him, but
temper expectations.
Look at if you have better matchups. Yep. I really feel
I'd agree with that.
It's just he makes me nervous, man. Funny side note, John sent me a text earlier this week. Did you see that Gio got cut? And my brain almost fell out of my head. I'm like, why would they cut him? Well, John didn't specify that it was in one of our leagues that he got cut. So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm looking at all these. I'm looking at Twitter. I'm looking at everywhere. And I'm like, is he messing with me? And he's like, no, I meant our tag team league. I'm like, well, it didn't sound like that.
I guess how you word things in the text.
That's just a funny side note. So what about Buffalo? I'm definitely starting. You need to start Josh Allen this week. Not only because Cincinnati doesn't have a great secondary, but because they allow so much against the run. And Josh Allen will run the ball. Look what he did last week. And I think that's his lower end. I think his upside is much higher than that in terms of rushing yards. And I think Josh Allen's a must-start this week. And I think tied to that, I think John Brown's a must-start, John. And obviously Frank Gore as well.
Yeah, Singletary, if he plays, that's the biggest question. If he plays, sorry.
It doesn't look like he's going to. It's okay. You can hear us cough a lot.
If he plays, Singletary is the back to play, but looking like he's not going to. Gore, but I'm not. Frank Gore's numbers are awful.
I know what you're saying, John, but this is such a bad rush D that I think not only can you start Frank Gore if Singletary plays, but if Singletary doesn't play, I think you could start TJ Yeldon in PPR and get a decent stat line out of him.
Oh, this week, yes. Yeldon. I like Yeldon this week. I just think he has more of the upside than Gore. Gore, I don't know. I think the Bills are going to throw. They're going to attack Cincy, I think, with their passing defense. Cincy is not
But eventually they're going to just want to run out the clock.
Yeah, which will be the end of the game, I think, or third quarter, depending on how bad the lead is. I mean, we don't know if this game's going to go through the roof. I believe the Bills are favored in this.
Are they? Okay, I'll take your word.
Yes, they
are.
are.
I would assume that they are, but...
I mean, the Bills are 2-0. People forget that. So I think it continues to go 3-0, but Gore's not a bad... I'm just not sold on Gore, but I'm not a Gore owner, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if there's a sweeter matchup out there, John, I'd love for you to point it out to me.
No, Gore is in a great spot.
And it's in Buffalo, so I don't know. That's just my take on that. I think Gore is a must start. You got to look at it situationally, though. I mean, if you got two stud running backs and you got a really good flex option, then you don't. But I think you're almost obligated to put them in there if it's the right circumstance. So again, if it's I would start him over Mixon this week. I really would. I could be totally wrong about that. So let's move on to another sweet matchup. The Dallas Cowboys host the Miami Dolphins. So fire everything, as I like to say. Fire all the cannons. Dak Prescott is a must start. If you look at what opposing teams have done to the Dolphins, it should be wheels up for sure for Dak. It looks like Gallup's not going to play. John, I know you're a Devin Smith guy. I think it's Randall Cobb, but that goes without saying. If you're looking at Amari Cooper, he is a must start as well, and of course Zeke is as well. The only question here is it Cobb or Smith? I think it's Cobb, and I think you think it's Smith.
I think it's Smith. Smith, I believe, if I'm looking at my information right, he actually has the easier matchup. But Cobb has worked around the field so much, though. He can play the slot. He can play the running back. I mean, he's been used everywhere, not just Green Bay's offense, but this offense is he's joined. So,
and I think if you look at Jason Witten, he's a pretty good option. Again, if you're a Hunter Henry owner, or if you're a little nervous about O.J. Howard, but I think you should start him, and we'll talk about that. Witten is a good tight end to start this week if you don't have one of the top guys. Miami, maybe Preston Williams, and that's it, dude. I mean, I can't. There is one guy you might love this week.
Who?
I think it might be the Drake. Do you love the Drake?
This week against Dallas? No.
Oh, jeez. Are you okay?
No.
I don't even have to say it for you, man.
I don't even like Drake. You don't like the Drake?
I hate the Drake.
I love the Drake.
How could you not like the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
The Drake is good.
But not this week, he's
No.
not. No. I don't even know if he's good anymore. That drop's going to wear out pretty quickly.
There is only a few wide receivers, a few Miami players I actually have interest in. Other than that, I'm just staying away from this team. It's just a dumpster fire.
Yep. Look it up in the dictionary, guys. Dumpster fire, Miami Dolphins. Sorry, Aaron. Moving on to the Broncos and the Packers. Denver Broncos will be visiting famous Lambeau Field, and for me, I'm a little. I don't know. I have a little anxiety about this matchup for Davante Adams, John. I mean,
is it because he's facing Chris Harris Jr.?
And it's just a tough matchup. And he did pretty much make an example of Xavier Rhodes last week. Can he conquer two tough matchups in a row?
I mean, it is.
If anybody can do it, it's him.
It's Davante Adams. He's kind of like DeAndre Hopkins. You just don't sit him. You got to take that chance. And most of the time, the only thing that's scaring me about Adams is the way this team is playing right now. LaFleur has made this a more balanced offense by numbers. They're only averaging 178.5 yards through the air and 95.5 on the ground.
Yeah.
So, which is very balanced, and they've only put up 14 points per game. That's not like something to jump up and down. So,
but Adams has yet to have a touchdown this year, and that's unusual.
Yes, he's never.
This guy's 10+ touchdowns.
I believe if I read the stat, whatever it was, like a little stat line. They said he has never gone longer than 2 weeks without a touchdown. So, if he didn't score this week, it would be 3 weeks.
And he's, last week, 7 receptions for 106 yards against Xavier Rhodes, which is as impressive as it gets. So I'm a little, I noticed his projection this week was 18 points. I don't know. That makes me nervous. And I have Davante Adams, and of course I'm starting him. He's a must start every week, but I would just temper your expectations, but hopefully the touchdowns start coming.
The Broncos, if they lose, they're trying to avoid their 7th loss in a row since last year. That's bad.
Well, they're not very good.
No,
one of the reasons is Joe Flacco. But I think Emmanuel Sanders is worthy of a start this week. But I don't know, John. Tell me what you think about Green Bay's defense, because I think they're not the same D they were last year.
Like I stated that first week, they have five new starters on defense. This is not the same defense it was last year. And if you
their secondary is really good.
Yeah, they're playing really well. The linebacking core is amazing. I mean, it's not even just Blake Martinez. They're all playing well. The front line's getting pressure.
They tormented Stephon Diggs last week.
Yeah, so this team has improved defensively a lot more.
And Thielen.
I mean, if you're a Broncos player, the only one I'm seeing Sanders because of the high targets he's getting, and Sutton maybe.
I'm sitting Sutton.
But he...
see? That was good. Give me a little credit for that one.
I'm also waiting to hear news on Sutton because he's banged up.
Completely no-sold me on the sitting Sutton. I'm not starting anybody in Denver. I'm starting Davante Adams. I'm not starting Aaron Rodgers until I can see that he's still Aaron Rodgers. Sneaky matchup, sneaky start I like this week is MVS. I think MVS is primed for a good game here because I think there's going to be a lot of coverage drawn by Davante Adams, and I think MVS could benefit from that. I don't think it's Geronimo. I think it's MVS.
Yeah, last week we thought it was MVS, and it was Geronimo went off. So I'm waiting to see who feasts there because it's going back and forth.
And it might do that all season, to be
honest. Yeah, which as a fantasy owner is not fun to do.
Yeah. So the Atlanta Falcons, who had a great game last week, was really fun to watch from a fantasy football standpoint and a real football standpoint. They take their talents to Indianapolis. Obviously, you're starting Matt Ryan, you're starting Julio Jones, you're starting Calvin Ridley. Freeman, what's going on with Freeman, man? He's not been good this year. I'm sitting him, frankly.
I think the thing with Freeman is their offensive line is still not as good as it's supposed to be, but at the same time, it's turd cutter. Turd cutter has not been known. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been. Might be a decade. I don't think he's ever had a top 10 back.
Yeah.
It's that bad. Yeah. So, Turd Cutter going there absolutely destroyed Freeman, and you can tell. I mean, look at the game script. Ito Smith is getting Ito Smith, I said, is getting carries as well. They're mixing him in. So, I mean, till I see more out of Freeman, I think you sit him.
Yeah. What about Austin Hooper, everybody fell for him in week 1, and I was the one that said, no, he's still Austin Hooper, and Austin Hooper returned to being Austin Hooper last week. But in the tight end landscape, is he something that you're starting?
I would watch the injury reports here. If Darius Leonard sits, because he is hurt, if he sits, you start Hooper. If Leonard plays, you don't play Hooper.
Yeah.
I think that Leonard's amazing. We know that. It definitely affects the coverage over the middle. So, to me, I only play... Hooper looked good the first game, but didn't look good the last game.
He still got 6 targets last week. So
yeah, I mean, he's seeing the target share, but...
He's involved. So I guess I'll say unless you have Evan Ingram or George Kittle or Travis Kelce, you guys know the usual suspects. Unless you have one of those, I think you're probably starting Hooper.
Yep.
I guess that's probably a caveat that we can throw for any tight end not named the top 5, though. You know what I mean? So looking at Indianapolis, T.Y. Hilton is performing despite the not great quarterback play. Marlon Mack had a rough week. Could miss the game this week.
I think you sit Mack unless you hear something. If you don't have,
I think you sit everybody but Hilton. Honestly, that's my take. I don't know if
this Falcons defense. Here's the thing: everybody picked on them last year, and they were like, "Oh, they're the worst team against running backs." That was last year. Does everybody forget half their defense went out to injury, and they're all back?
Atlanta, and I know it was in Atlanta, but Atlanta shut down. No, was it in Atlanta? I can't remember. No, it wasn't Atlanta last week. I think.
What, against Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah, they shut that whole running game down.
They shut them down. They shut the team down for the first half, in some of the good part of the third quarter as well. I mean, this defense is not the same defense as last year. It really isn't. And I like T.Y.'s upside just because I feel like he's going to get heavily targeted because he's been the guy that Brissett has kind of relied upon. But, I mean, 6 targets for 43 yards last week. The touchdown saved him. You could be looking at that 6 for 43 without the touchdown this week.
Ugh.
Atlanta is better than people give them credit for on D. So
you starting Ridley?
Yeah, I'm starting Ridley. I think you have to. His touchdown upside is good. He's getting targeted. I think he and Julio are really, I don't know, it's a good tandem, man. And I wouldn't have said that prior to the season, but I'm definitely warming up to Calvin Ridley.
Yay.
You were definitely right about that. Baltimore, Kansas City, another defense, John, that's better than we thought. Kansas City, maybe it's just a smokescreen because they haven't played the best opposition yet. But what are you thinking about Lamar Jackson against KC?
I think Lamar Jackson, he's a must start.
He's got the Konami code, man.
Look what he did last week. Look what he did week 1. Last week was very impressive. He had the rushing lines go with it through the roof. I don't think you sit him. I don't care what the expectation is of this or what this Chiefs defense has done the first 2 weeks. You play Lamar Jackson based on the fact that he is a dual threat. He can burn you with his legs. He can burn you through the air now. And his favorite target is Mark Andrews, from what we can see.
Well, and not only that, I mean, Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown have both changed the dynamic of this offense and what Lamar Jackson is capable of. And I think you start all 3 of those guys against Kansas City. I'm a little less likely to start Ingram, but I think he could have a good week. I'm not an Ingram guy. But I think, again, it's almost like I don't know if it's like the Frank Gore thing, but if you have better matchup, again, I would start Frank Gore over Mark Ingram this week. That's another guy I would start him over. But you probably have to start Mark Ingram this week. And I don't think it's a bad matchup necessarily. Anything else for Baltimore?
No, other than that, it's Spotty who I think would get, the shares.
You just can't count on anybody but Brown, Andrews. And
what about the Chiefs side of the ball?
So Lamar Jackson has the Konami code, and of course Pat Mahomes has the Kavorka code. So you start Pat Mahomes. He's matchup. We talked about it.
Matchup
he
proof.
is matchup proof. The guy has just got the undeniable Kavorka, but I will say, don't think that you're going to get the typical 4 touchdown game out of Pat Mahomes.
No. This could be the 2 touchdown week, but still put up 270 yards, which that's bad to see. 270 yards is a bad game. Only 270 yards.
But there's nobody on the planet Earth that you're starting over Pat Mahomes on any given week unless he's on a bye or injured. So you're definitely starting Mahomes, definitely starting Kelce. Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. That's where I get nervous, John, because everybody's putting all their chips in the center of the table and fab-wise for Robinson and Hardman. But Watkins had a bad week. Does Watkins level up and these guys kind of peter off a little bit? It's just, I'm not comfortably... It's tough because I know you have to start Kansas City players. So I guess you're starting them, but just know that it could end poorly for any one of those three.
Well,
guys.
they're also facing a top secondary here.
Right.
I mean, this is Baltimore.
I'll say it. I'm not starting any of those guys. I'll just say
I don't blame you.
Come out and say
I really don't blame you. It's tough. Baltimore's always been known for its defense. And let's be honest, last week, I think they got burned pretty bad on the ground, but they still did overall well. It's their secondary they've been known for. So
I'm not starting any of the backs either, man. Unless Darwin Thompson is the guy.
yeah, which back? There's no clarification. So
If McCoy and Williams are out, you have to start Darwin Thompson, and you're going to benefit greatly from it.
yeah,
But other than that, it's a little murky.
agreed.
Which is funny, but because Mahomes can support so many. Like we were talking about Mr. Cousins and how he doesn't. We're not sure how much he can support on a weekly basis. Same with Stafford, but Mahomes can support several guys, but you just don't know necessarily who.
But who is the number one? With Tyreek out, with Tyreek in, you knew Tyreek was the number one. Here now you don't. It was Tyreek Kelsey. Now you don't even know it's Kelsey.
You know what?
I guess we're going to the Vikings game.
We're playing Kirk Cousins music.
Hopefully this is the week. Like I said,
The "You Suck" music is
Raiders-
blaring through the speakers.
Raiders' pass defense is last in the NFL, conceding 341 passing yards per contest. This is the week that Cousins should feast, or I eat my words.
So
Simple
you're
as that.
telling me there's a chance?
This is the best chance. They are banged up. Conley's out. This secondary, if you've watched games, is beat up. Really beat up.
I am starting Stephon Diggs in my flex, and I feel pretty good about it.
I'm starting Cousins in my quarterback spot over Rivers.
I think you're right. I think Cousins will be fine this week, but man, has it looked ugly.
Oh, he's looked awful, and I know they're supposed to be a run first team now.
Yeah.
Even when they run, it's...
Well, the problem
Yeah.
is, like, that's all well and good until you get punched in the mouth and people are stacking the box against Dalvin Cook. And then, the encouraging thing, though, John, is we went from 10 attempts to 30, for Cousins. So that's good.
But he was awful in those 30.
Yeah, and, I don't know. I would be reluctant to start Cousins, but like you said, if there's a week to do it, it's this week. I definitely think you can start Thielen and Diggs. I would almost say they're must-starts given the matchup. I definitely think you can start Dalvin Cook. I would not start anybody other than maybe Darren Waller, maybe Tyrell Williams on Oakland. I wouldn't start Josh Jacobs this week, even if he's healthy.
A sneaky play is Washington Williams. He did practice today, but he's a little banged up. If he doesn't play, Renfro, I think, becomes a must-start based on his target volume. He had 8 last week.
I'm not starting him. I'll tell you that.
He plays the slot, remember. He
I
doesn't play
understand
the outside.
that, but I just think Minnesota's D is really going to give these guys trouble. I can see Oakland getting blown out here. Speaking of blowing out teams, the New England Penitentiary,
My boys.
a.k.a. the New England Patriots, faced the New York Jets, a Sam Darnold-less and Trevor Simeon-less Jets. Not that Simeon's all that good anyway, and I'm not convinced Darnold is either.
Also, C.J. Mosley has been ruled out already this week.
Yes, you're starting Le'Veon Bell and Le'Veon Bell. That's it.
What, on the Jet side?
Yeah, Crowder came back to earth last week. Robbie Anderson draws yet another tough matchup.
Did you watch this game at all? When they played the other day, the Jets and Browns?
No, I was at work, and we've already discussed this.
Okay, so this...
No, Monday.
The Monday night game, yes.
I saw bits and pieces of the
So the best thing I saw was Trevor goes out of the game by that nasty hit by Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Luke Falk comes in, and they said, "Oh, hey, if Luke Falk for some reason gets hurt,
You know who that is.
he's their third-string quarterback.
Yeah.
If for some reason this was that night,
I assumed that it was their third string quarterback.
if for some reason he went out, Le'Veon Bell was the backup quarterback. So I was like, wow.
Well, Le'Veon Bell could probably throw to himself, but yeah, you're definitely starting Lev Bell here. He just gets the usage that merits a start. So, that's it, though. That's it for the Jets side of the ball. So with New England, I think you're starting to see the Antonio Brown effect, and it ain't good for anybody that catches passes over there in New England, John.
No, the only Antonio Brown's all about, I want to say 6 to 7 targets. Don't quote me on the exact number, but he has hurt Edelman.
Yeah.
He has hurt Philip Dorsett. They don't even have a tight end. Matt LaCoste was targeted like once or twice.
I just want to remind you what we discussed last week. Julian Edelman got targeted 4 times. Not last week.
You know what I do like about
4 targets.
But you know what I do like about Antonio Brown in this matchup this week? Sonny Michel's gonna feast.
Sony. All right. Anyway.
Sonny, doesn't matter.
You know, it might be a sunny day for Sony. I hope it is because I haven't.
I think they're 20.
Just want to go back to Edelman again. 11 targets in week 1. 4 targets in week 2, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen every week. But if Antonio Brown is out there and not in a jail cell, you can't consider Julian Edelman a must start every week.
No, the only one I think right now you could consider a must start is Brady or Michel.
Or Brown. I think Brown is a must start just based on
his talent level.
His talent level, yeah. I don't think you can sit him with Tom Brady as his quarterback. But we've seen in Josh Gordon too. I mean, we've seen last week that it's just not going to be the same with all of those guys out there. And if you're a New England Patriots fan, it's glorious. But if you're an owner of a guy like Josh Gordon or Julian Edelman, which you were excited about at the beginning of the season, Josh Gordon, 2 receptions for 19 yards. Get used to it, folks. But yeah, Sony Michel is a start.
Yeah, we wonder why I don't own any Patriots.
I don't even know if you can start James White every week now. You know, I know he catches out of the backfield, but yeah, he's another one. I really think it's Michel. I think it's Brown, and I think it's Brady as far as starts this week. And the Jets are a better defense than people give him credit for, but without Mosley, that's going to be a lot different. Now, when I tell you this, and you say, well, Julian Edelman ended up catching 10 passes for 150 yards. Well, that is a possibility.
It is a possibility.
You just can't bank on it. You don't know. It's like rolling the think of this, John. The New England receiver situation is now just the same as the New England running back situation. You just throw your hands up because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know
which one's going to get it. Like, you don't know if it's Burkhead. But I think with Michel, you have more of a clear expectation. He had a bad week 1. I can see why he got not benched but taken off the field.
Yeah.
But last week, they were up so much, they just ran him, and I think they're going to do the same thing this week. This Jets, Luke Falk is starting. Let's be honest. What is he going to do against the Pats? And we forget about the Pats side. This is impressive. They've given up 3 points in 2 weeks on the defense side. This defense is probably the...
Well...
I know they haven't played the greatest teams, but...
Yeah, especially week 2. You can't take
But week 1, they played Pittsburgh, though, too. So you got to put a little stock into it. Pittsburgh, maybe they're not the same team, but so far, only 3 points given up. So wait and see. Okay, next matchup. I don't know.
Are you starting Kerryon Johnson this week? That's my question for you. Remember what Philly did to Devonta Freeman last week. Remember?
I want to lean towards
Devonta.
No. But with C.J. Anderson gone, there's more opportunity here. But what scares me is the backup now, Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson got only 5 carries, but
He
then
still got
Anderson
5
got
carries.
cut. So they're like, we like this guy. Basically.
Yeah, and they like Johnson as a backup.
Yes. Not Kerryon.
No, yeah.
I'm not starting Kerryon this week, guys. Again, I watched what Atlanta did to, what Philly did to Devonta Freeman. Ito had an okay game, but I just am nervous for Kerryon, and it stinks. It is not necessarily his talent, John. It's the fact that I don't know if he's going to get the usage, so that concerns me.
I think if he gets a usage this week, it would be out of the backfield. Dumb passes from Stafford or screens.
Yeah.
If they play it smart, because this Eagles front 7 is good against the run. And last week, how did Atlanta beat Philly? Through the air.
Well,
So
it's funny you mentioned that. Because
my
I think...
favorite person through the air.
What is going on here? Oh, we got a Kerryon And we got a Galladay drop at the same time. They're dueling drops. Yes, that was great. It's like two guys going at it. I think it's a Galladay day, I think. I don't know. Oh, there's Carry On's coming back now. That was awful.
That was weird. One of those mashups or something.
Start Kenny Galladay this week. I think you could probably start Marvin Jones. I know he's burned us a little bit, but like Marvin Jones or Robbie Anderson. I think you start Marvin Jones.
I'd start Marvin Jones over Robbie Anderson. And then does Amendola come back this week? Don't know.
Yeah, but I think you only got. So we're talking start sit.
I trust Galladay. I don't trust Amendola.
Sit Carry On. I would start Galladay, and that's where I leave.
And I would sit T.J. Hawkinson. Eagles are great against tight ends.
And Hawkins, it was T.J. Hawkinson week 1 and T.J. Hawkinson week 2. I think it's T.J. Hawkinson again week 3. I think people lost their mind over week 1, and it's just with tight ends they're just unpredictable, man. They're unpredictable.
Watch Stafford throw him like 8 times for 140 or something this week.
Unpredictable.
Yep.
So Zach Ertz
must start. He'll get 16 targets again.
Nelson Aguilar must start. Carson Wentz, I think you're starting him.
I think you'll see a decent matchup.
I think you're starting him. Because again, Detroit's not a bad D, man. Not a bad D. They're not great against the run, though. I think you start Miles Sanders in this one. I think you take a stab.
You think so?
Yeah.
See, the person I like from the Eagles, depending on the injury, is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I think he played 91% of the snaps last week.
He did not look good last week.
He did not look good, but remember, that was also Atlanta's defense. But he did play 91% of the snaps, which is inspiring. So
93%. But he only saw 4 targets in a situation where he had a huge opportunity. He does have upside, but I'm not starting him.
But I don't know. I think the Lions may win this one just based on the fact that Eagles on offense have a lot of what ifs. But could be wrong. It could be the art show.
So Cam Newton's sitting. So that makes me think we're moving on to Carolina at Arizona. That makes me think that Christian McCaffrey is going to just have the entire workload here.
He's a must start.
Yeah. I don't know who's the starting quarterback this
Kyle
week?
Allen.
Kyle Allen. Okay. That's going to minimize your upside. I think
he did not look bad in Week 17 last year when they played him, actually.
Yeah.
I know the name doesn't jump out at you.
In Week 17.
Yes. No, I get that, but he didn't look awful.
It's a downgrade for Moore. It's a downgrade for Samuel. I am only comfortably starting Christian McCaffrey and maybe Greg Olsen in this one.
I'm starting Samuel. I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because Kyle Allen, when he was a backup with Samuel before Samuel made first team, Samuel was his favorite target.
So you're starting him over DJ Moore?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my bold call, I will say.
Arizona might actually win this game.
Yay!
David Johnson must start. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald. What about those two guys, John? They look great so far.
I think Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, you have to start based on volume here.
Larry Fitzgerald's got 27% target share, and Kirk has 21%.
This offense is just so...
They're both averaging 10-plus targets.
This is a no-huddle offense, I believe, almost the whole way. So they're running plays so fast. I think they're the fastest-paced team right now in the NFL. So based on that, their volume they're spitting out of plays is through the roof.
So I think you start Murray, Fitzgerald, Johnson, and Kirk. I like Murray as a start this week as well.
He's surprisingly actually doing well.
Yeah.
So
and he's got the Konami code too.
There is a sneaky pickup from Arizona. If you want to take a chance, he saw some targets last week. Damian Byrd, revenge game narrative against the Panthers.
All right.
But I doubt it. So what?
You never know. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a very good team. They host the New York Giants this week. Also not a very good team. So this is going to be either a fantasy explosion or not much happening. But as far as start-sit's concerned, I'm watching Daniel Jones. I'm not starting him. But I'm keeping an eye on him. You should probably already have picked him up because you're not going to get him if he blows up this week, right, John?
No.
Evan Ingram's a must start for me. Saquon Barkley's a must start. And that's probably where it ends.
Until you see who Jones is throwing to. The only person I know that Jones favored a lot in the preseason season was Benny Fowler, and he's not even he might not even play.
I think Ingram will be good. Shepard. I'm not ready to start those guys. It's literally Barkley and Ingram. That's it.
I don't blame you.
Tampa Bay.
Winston.
Winston, I think you have to start. Yep.
This would be the last.
Unless he's your backup and you have Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Or, one of those.
But I think
guys.
if he's your starting if you have this and I don't know, let's say I'm trying to just pick somebody. Let's say Trubisky. I'm still gonna pick Winston over Trubisky.
Yep. Chris Godwin. I definitely think you're starting him. He saw a 24% increase in target share between week 1 and week 2. So
Do you start Mike Evans?
I think you start Mike Evans. I think you start O.J. Howard too. I think O.J. Howard's a start this week. If you want to buy really low on a guy that could win you a championship, it's O.J. Howard. I'm just telling you guys right now. I think Bruce Arians made that comment with purpose that he made about Howard and how he could be doing a better job. And he's the most talented guy on that offense, and he will definitely start to get targets. And this might be a squeaky wheel situation too.
So hopefully this fires him up. He goes off this week.
Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber, I'm never starting those guys.
You don't know who's getting the timeshare. I hope the boogeyman takes over soon.
I would definitely be more than happy to start the boogeyman. But I'm not quite ready to do that.
Not this week. We're holding. He's actually like our work in progress project. I think he will be starting here shortly. I think. Give him a couple weeks.
I don't know how he can't, John.
He's clearly the most talented.
Barber and Jones are just so bad. Houston Texans at the Los Angeles Chargers. Do we see bounce back from Deshaun Watson this week, John?
I'm scared this week. This secondary for the Chargers is really good. You got King back there. You got Casey Hayward. This is a loaded secondary, even without Derwin James. I'd say temper expectations, but at the same time, I'm mixed on this game.
One positive is that the Chargers D-line isn't that good, so it should take a little bit of pressure off Houston's offensive line, which isn't that good.
Yeah, their offense.
So that should give Deshaun a little bit more time in the pocket, and he won't have to kind of rush his throws as much, I guess you could put it. But I don't know, man. The next hit could be the last for the season for Deshaun. That offensive line just cannot protect him. I loved him coming into the season, but they just look bad. But this week, I think they'll get a little bit of a breather with LA's defensive line. I think you have to start Deshaun this week.
Oh, you have to.
You have to start DeAndre Hopkins.
What about Will Fuller? I think you temper expectations against the secondary.
Hopkins, I'd probably. If we're talking start sit, he's in the middle. He's not a must start for me. I think Hyde. I don't know. I would sit Duke Johnson. He just does not. He's the passing down back, and there's no question about that. But it doesn't mean he's getting a lot of usage. I don't know. What about Hyde, John? He's looked good.
He looks good. The only thing I'm worried about from him is a stat line of like 70 yards and no TDs. So he'd only get you 7 points. So I'm going to say no here. I know the Chargers front line isn't the greatest. But
Yeah.
I would have to say no based on not seeing anything other.
Hyde might be a good daily type of guy.
Yeah. But he's not seeing like nothing for receptions, no targets. It's just you're hoping for a touchdown. You actually need a touchdown if you're going to win your week, and probably like 70 yards, 80 yards. So I'd be skeptical about starting him.
For the Chargers, Keenan Allen just embarrassed Darius Slay, so I think you're good to start him any particular week. He faces Roby this week, which is even easier than... Darius Slay's not easy. It's just Keenan Allen did a really good job.
Yeah.
And if you look at the running back situation, I think Eckler is a must-start in this one. And I think you're starting Mike Williams, too. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better flex option.
He looked good last week.
Yeah.
Especially being banged up, he looked really good. He played really well.
Yeah, he was solid. Pittsburgh at the 49ers. Geez, man, I don't really know what to expect from Pittsburgh this week. Mason Rudolph looked good with Vance McDonald. He looked good with Juju Smith-Schuster. The expectation is that Juju would decline, but it looked like he had a pretty good rapport with him. James Conner, I'm probably sitting him because I don't know what his health level is, and he might have to share that workload this week with Samuels. What are your thoughts on the... And McDonald, I'd probably start, too.
This Steelers scared me this week. It's because it's not just because they're banged up. It's also Mason Rudolph. We've seen very limited. He looked decent last week, but the 49ers. Wow, that's all I'm gonna say. The 49ers look good defensively and offensively.
Who'd they play though? Which is why I'm telling you to start Frank Gore this week. So they did play the Bengals. This is not the Bengals.
But this wasn't like a 14-0 win. This was a smash.
No, it was it was a dismantling. I love the usage for Breida. I love the usage for Mostert, but when Wilson gets all the touchdowns, it's kind of
that was
kind of a bummer. And then there's word that he could be the goal line back here. I think the only running back you start safely, and I know Mostert outperformed him last week in a lot of platforms, but I think Breida's the only guy that is a must start, I think. But Mostert could, I don't know, man. You probably, in certain situations in deeper leagues, you start Mostert too. I mean, it's hard to say no.
Well, Shanahan loves using the dual backs. I think you almost have to start both of them based on what they're doing right now.
In Pittsburgh's defense, just
awful.
Is not good.
You think
they got Fitzpatrick?
Yeah,
there.
Micah Fitzpatrick.
He should shore up that secondary a little bit.
And he's playing safety and not quarterback.
He is playing safety, so he could help. But you're definitely starting George Kittle. I think he has a get right week this week after a little bit of a disappointment last week. I think you could definitely see him blow up.
You starting Debo?
I like Debo. I'm watching Debo again this week.
I'm not starting Pettis.
No, I'm not starting Pettis, but this is good. This is a good matchup for the Niners. I think you start Kittle. I think you start Breida. Samuel, you could start him. Well, I think this could be a big week for him, and I just picked him up off the waiver wire.
What about Jimmy?
When everybody else was hunting down the Kansas City guys, I went and got Debo because he's the best receiver. He was the best receiver.
Yeah, target share wise, he's getting the
targets. I think you start Garoppolo this week. There's worse guys.
Garoppolo, as you would say. I'm going to correct you on
that.
It
depends on what week with him. You know what I mean?
True.
Saints at the Seahawks. Really disappointing injury with Drew Brees. What are you thinking in this matchup?
I'm not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. It's just a matter of time before I think they announce Taysom Hill's the starter. I'm high on Taysom Hill. The kid is beyond talented. He actually got, 2 targets last week as wide receiver. He lines up everywhere, so I think Taysom Hill can actually throw the ball, too. Would not be surprised if it doesn't happen this week. It'll happen next week. He'll be the starter. But I think Bridgewater at quarterback,
is it him? Who is it? So if
he hasn't named the starter, but
if you had to make a guess, and if you had to, the whole gun to your head scenario, who would it be?
I think it's going to be Bridgewater this week.
Okay.
I'm hoping not, but I think you don't start Bridgewater. You have to start Kamara based on volume, and you just discouraging not to see any targets last week after Breeze left. Michael Thomas, based on the targets he got from Bridgewater, you have to start him. Other than that, temper expectations on New Orleans.
So, what's next? Are we good with that matchup?
What about Seahawks side?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I got a little lost here. I had some
Seahawks side.
Funky stuff going on.
Yeah, last week they did a pretty good job, decent job against containing Gurley. So I would temper expectations on Carson, but I mean, obviously, if you're starting back, keep an eye on Penny as he's being involved more. I'm not saying I'm sold. I'm giving my breakdown here. On the other side,
as a wise man once told me, Daddy knows.
You start Russell Wilson.
I'm telling you,
you start Tyler Lockett, and I say you start.
Tyler Lockett is going to excel this week.
And
this team struggles against the slot
receivers. You start DK Metcalf, and keep an eye out this week on Metcalf just in case, because David Moore could return this week.
He could. Moore is somebody to keep an eye on, too, on the waiver wire. This dude's better than people give him credit for. But the disadvantage that he has is that DK Metcalf has had the opportunity to build a rapport with Russell Wilson. I love the Tyler Lockett start this week. And I think you play Alex this week, and he has Tyler Lockett. So, Alex, definitely start him.
Stop. You just don't want me to go to 3-0.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. The luckiest 3-0 of all time.
Hey, wins a
We had a
win.
respectable performance this week, though.
This week, yeah, I was at what, near the second in points, I think it was.
All right.
That trade helped me. That's why.
Oh, you're welcome. I help people, John. That's what I do. What's next?
Which one you want to go to? Rams Browns.
You tell me.
Let's go Rams Browns.
All right, Rams Browns. Kick it off because I'm still having some computer.
For the Rams, on the Rams side of the ball, Browns defense doesn't look fantastic. They're not horrible either. I think Rams, you have to start Gurley. I think you have to start. I think you have to start Woods. You have to start Cooks. You have to
Gurley,
start.
I mean, it's actually a pretty good matchup.
Yeah,
for
you
Gurley.
have to start Cup. You have to start this offense till further notice, especially what they did with New Orleans defense last week. I think they're in a groove right now. Not so much on the ground, but definitely through the air. Goff, it actually looked really good. From the Browns side of the ball, Mayfield showed with that throw to Odell. You have to start Odell. You have to start Baker. You have to start Chubb. Other than that, I'm scared of Landry until I see more. But I think with the Njoku out, he should see an uptick. But it's about all I'm starting with the Browns.
I think you're definitely starting Gurley. Robert Woods draws Denzel Ward. I think Robert Woods should pop this week. I think he'll have an excellent week. I think you have to start Cooks based on his big play and his touchdown upside. Kupp, I'm not as high on, but you're probably starting him. Odell Beckham, you have to start. And Nick Chubb, I think you have to start. And Baker Mayfield, yeah, let's roll him out there, I guess. That's pretty much it for me for Cleveland. Bears, Redskins, John. Chicago.
Da
Bears.
Bears.
Mitch Trubisky's trash.
The only thing is trash right now is Redskins' run defense is last in the NFC.
Yeah. Monty Burns, fire him up. This will be an excellent week.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, Monty Burns, David Montgomery, he's good to go. I do not trust Mitch Trubisky as far as I can throw him. Not a bad matchup here, but it's Montgomery and Montgomery for me.
I think Tariq Cohen would be a sneaky pick.
He could, but I'm not going out of my way to start him. It's Montgomery. I would definitely start Montgomery. And for Washington, it's probably McLaurin, and that's it. Honestly,
even with this tough matchup, you think
McLovin's got a tough matchup, but I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to get the targets, and he's actually a big red zone threat too.
6 targets, I believe, in the red zone.
Yeah, so I think he's good. Is that it, John?
That's it. This is actually we can breeze through these.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think we're trying to trim down, talking about every player and just going with starts and sits. So good luck to you guys this week. Good luck to you, John, because you're not playing me. And
I feel bad for the person playing you this week because I think your team goes off this week.
Yeah, sorry. Well, we'll see. You probably just jinxed me. Anyway, that's a bad fantasy football etiquette, by the way. So we'll see you. We'll see you guys next week when we recap week 3. We're already in week 3, John. And sorry about us being on the DL on the MASH unit. We are back. And by next week, we should be back in full effect. So
Rex and effects.
Yeah, so we'll see you next week. And good luck this weekend. Have fun watching fantasy football and your teams and your players. And hopefully you win, unless you're playing us. Peace out.
See you guys soon.
See ya.